No chips, don't let the salad win. That's the message in terms of nature of the food maybe that we consume in Wales.
It's Wrexham.
He's done it, the magic little man, Watkin. Oh, he scored! Steve Watkin has got a goal!
Ball breaks for Foden, it's in early, as Rush likes it, and he'll chase it, he'll collect it, Ian Rush!
Bennett, and that's a second for Wrexham. Well, classic, changing defence into attack.
Conley! 1-0 to Wrexham, Carl Conley's done it!
Trundle for options, put it back to Morels. Oh, it's a good save! Oh no, it is, and it's in the back of the net. Andy Morel. What a chance! What a goal! What a goal from Al Robson Carnham! Folks, good wicket kicks up. Something special is happening here tonight. Wales are going into the semi-finals of the European Championship.
Wanagate, Ferguson has definitely won it for Wrexham now.
Here's Mendy! There's that race-class roar again! Saved by Foster!
Wales are going to the Euros next summer. Wilkinson's wonderful Welsh women.
Wales! Wales have done it! They've reached the World Cup! It's him again! Champions! Wrexham are promoted! They have their storybook ending!
The first team in history to eat more chips and not let salad win.
Hello and welcome to the Eat More Chips podcast, the official podcast for one of the most recognisable flags in the Welsh football supporters universe. No Daz this week as he's away teaching the English how to drink beer, but in a week when competitive eater Joey Jaws Chestnut, the reigning champion and 17-time winner of Nathan's famous international hot dog eating contest, will compete in the July the 4th spectacle while on probation after he pleaded guilty to a misdemeanor battery charge. Chestnut was accused of slapping a man on the face during a night out at an Indiana bar, his attorney said, and he entered a guilty plea on April the 20th and was sentenced to 180 days of probation in Hamilton County. A judge, though, has granted him permission to travel outside the state, allowing Chestnut to defend his title and the signature mustard belt on Coney Island this summer. At the Nathan's famous contest last year, Chestnut took back the eating title by eating 70 half hot dogs and buns in 10 minutes after he missed the 2024 contest due to a competing sponsorship. Nathan's had temporarily banned him from competing after he signed an endorsement deal with the plant-based meat company Impossible Foods. Chestnut most recently won the 2026 Ultimate Bologna Showdown in Tennessee for the third straight year, consuming 16 pounds of sausage in 8 minutes to set a new world record. Well, if it's eating records you want, sponsored by Burger King, it's Jamie!
That's me. That's me. Hot dogs, burgers, chicken, I'm your man.
16 pounds of sausage in 8 minutes. Shit, I bet that's a lot.
That is a lot. I mean, Christ, how many's that? That's a lot of sausages.
That is a heck of a lot of sausage.
I bet he had some Rene's for dessert.
I bet he had most of that on the toilet. Never mind Rene's for dessert. As I said earlier, no Daz this week, but he has sent us a message. So, hello Daz.
Greetings from the M4. Here I am at the service station on my way back from that there London after spending a couple of days there working. So sorry I can't be with you actually on the pod. So I'll send you another message shortly. But sorry I can't be there. But I'm sure you guys will manage fine without me. You got this.
So not a busy week this week, Jamie. A couple of things we can talk about. TST. Massive washout there. Played 3, lost 3. I watched all 3 of them because they were all on times which wasn't at crap o'clock in the morning. But didn't play massively well, to be honest with you. The only good thing about it was Rosie Hughes won the home run derby, which was quite good, and Mark Howard came runner-up in the goalkeeper shoot-off. The thing is, I've got about it. I know we talked about it last week, and we said, it's just a bit of fun, and it's a marketing project and whatever. But at the end of the day, these guys are wearing the badge. They are wearing the badge of our club, right? And I want our club to win. And increasingly, we're getting worse. If you remember the first year when we had Trundle and Andy Morel and people like that, we did quite well. We got quite far. This time we didn't even get out of the group stage. And I know we were in a different one. I mean, has our time come, do you think, in this competition where we need to go, do you know what? That's it. Let's walk away.
It depends what the motivation for doing it is. I suspect it's a way of having the brand. I hate to kind of call the football club a brand, but it's a way of having the brand in North America, which obviously is a huge market for us now, albeit very, very loosely with regards to kind of who's wearing the badge, as you say. But yes, you're right. It is still representing the football club. The thing is, I don't think there's any detriment to being involved in it. I think it's just a little bit sad that obviously it's kind of, what's this, the third year now? From like the first year to the third year is kind of
fourth, I think.
Is it fourth? Is it?
Year,
I mean,
think, yeah.
From when it started to now, it just seems to have kind of like fizzled out. I'll be brutally honest. I saw the fact that we'd lost the 3 games, and I saw the Rosie had won something, but I honestly I didn't watch any of it because it just didn't. I think I said it last week. It just didn't really hold any interest for me. I'd as a legacy fan, I think I'd much rather see some genuine ex-Wrexham players involved. I think that would generate a bit more interest from some. However, it's a very unique format, isn't it? And as we saw last year, I mean, by the sounds of it, it's the same this year. But as we saw last year, there are teams in it that live and breathe this format of football. It's like white men can't jump, but football. It's just like there are teams there that are called Skanky FC or whatever, but they are literally live and breathe playing this format of football. So, even if we had a 7-a-side team full of ex-Wrexham pros, it might still be a challenge because you're coming up against teams that, like I say, live and breathe this format. But yeah, look, if the club feels that it's beneficial, whether that's through merchandise sales or just keep waving the flag, the brand flag in North America once a year, then if they think it's worth doing, then I'm sure they'll keep doing it. But yeah, not a huge amount of interest in it for me this year. What was that thing that Rosie won?
So basically what happens is it's like based around baseball. So the idea is you have batters. They are pitched fairly easy balls, and the idea is they have to hit it out of the park. And it's the same thing. Stephen Fletcher was basically being the pitcher and kicking the ball to her. And then Rosie had to basically see how far she could clear it. And the one that hit it the furthest won, and she hit it the furthest. So, and to be fair, she was probably going for it. I mean, it is. I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, Michael Williamson, Sean Harvey were there. It's a massive marketing thing because Wrexham must be one of the most popular because they were having signatures and things signed and whatever, which was great. It was great to see Stephen Fletcher again, though. I tell you something, he's still got it. He even managed to start a brawl where the police had to come on, which was awesome. That was awesome because of a tackle and whatever. He's still got it. He has still got it. And if you've been looking this week, he's been Wrexham ambassador at the moment because he's over in Philadelphia doing some stuff. He was at the ground that we're going to play Sunderland at in August, and I think he's throwing the first pitch. I think. At the one of the baseball player. I'm not quite sure about that one, to be honest with you. But great to see him looking so well, and he's still got it on the football field. Scored a cracking goal in the first game. So we just need 7 Stephen Fletchers, I think, and then it would be perfect. But it was. It's just disappointing to see because you want Wrexham to win, and we're not. It looked like a bunch of people who were basically met up in the car park 10 minutes before the game. There was very little tactics. There was no finishing. There was no. I mean, I know what you're saying. They're football players. They've got football brains, but you still have to have a plan. Particularly in this kind of format. And it seems they just didn't look like they had a plan.
Well, yeah. I mean, arguably, you need more of a plan in this format than you do generally because it's you have to learn. You have to know how to kind of play the game for want of a stupid phrase, but it's knowing when and where when to change people and when to make the most of things. It's just like I say, I enjoyed the first certainly the first couple of years of it was interesting because it was something new and everything else. But yeah, not hugely interested for me this year, to be honest.
Well, wait to see what happens next year, whether they do send the team out, because obviously there's an expense there. The good thing, the one of the better things, as well as seeing Fletch, was seeing Gary Speed's son, who lives in the States at the moment. He was playing for us, which was brilliant, because of course he was in the academy at one point at Wrexham. So yeah, great to see him. He looks like his dad so much sometimes. It's quite painful to watch, from a sad point of view, but brilliant to see him as well. So that was great. A topic I know you love: memberships. The gold and red dragon membership merchandise has come out this week, and there's been a bit of hoo-ha about it. Two things that I'm looking at. Firstly, people with season tickets are saying, right, so we put the money out for a season ticket, and we get digital membership, which means we get none of this. We have to pay an extra 30 or 50 quid to get red or gold memberships before we are allowed to then buy this special merchandise. Why are we being penalised? That's one thing. Secondly, looking at it, it is very dull. It is, and I'll put a picture up here. Black shirts with either 1864 in red or in gold, and that's it by here. And the same on the hat. Nothing special at all. And they're wanting some fairly big money for it. So first of all, Jamie, season ticket. I know you about memberships, and I know this isn't the last time we're gonna have this conversation this year, I'm sure. But do you agree with that? Kind of people saying, well, if we buy a season ticket, we should get access to gold membership and not have to pay extra for it.
It's all right, you season ticket holders. Your top red range will be coming out next week. Don't worry, it's fine.
I bought gold membership, mate. I was one of the idiots, so I paid another 50 quid on top to buy gold membership.
Look, we've had this conversation, haven't we, a few times over the last few years. The football club have done so many good things, but every now and again there's something which is a little bit of an own goal. This is another one for me. I mean, the bottom line is, if you're a season ticket holder, you should just have access to the range, full stop, regardless of whether you're gold, red, membership, whatever else. The whole point of what they're trying to do here is they were trying to, and I think they've not done a very good job of calming down a lot of the kind of foray of last year with regards to the fact that it was such a poor return on your money when you bought a gold or a red membership or whatever it was last year. I spoke quite openly and multiple times about my feelings towards the 50 quid I spent on a gold membership last season, and I've done it again this year. But there was obviously a lot of fallout from that, so they tried to come up with this idea of an exclusive range, which in principle is a good idea, but the way that they've done it is not great. It's not great, and then what they've produced isn't great either. Literally the same pretty bog standard merch, but with either a gold stitching or a red stitching, depending on what membership you've got. The fact it's not available to season ticket holders is stupid. It's just a stupid thing that was always going to create issue. But the bottom line is that having an exclusive range of pretty average merchandise is not really a perk of being a member. Do you know what I mean? It's because the bottom line is, if I want to go and buy one of those the black with the gold stitching 1864 hoodies, it's 45 quid. So I've got to lay out another 45 quid to buy a hoodie, and nobody's gonna be, oh my god, he's a gold member as I walk down the street. Hey, I like that. Yeah, he likes gold. Nobody's gonna, it's the idea behind it. I like that they've tried to do something, but it's unfortunately, I just don't think they've done it properly. They've not thought it through properly, and it's created a bit of a mess. Yeah, not great.
Let's put you in charge of ticketing for 10 minutes. What would you offer for people? What would you offer to say, right, you can have your digital membership, and that's fine. That gets you access to tickets automatically. If you do Dragon, which is the intermediate, or Gold, what would you give? What would you offer as an incentive for paying your 30 or your 50 quid?
I mean, ultimately, I don't think the exclusive merchandise thing was always going to be a slippery slope to go down. Forget the fact that they've initially. I'm pretty sure they'll change their mind on it, because there's been that much fallout from season. Quite rightly, there's been fallout from season ticket holders about the fact they can't access this stuff unless they paid, like you have, an additional fee to be a gold member as well as a season ticket holder. The vast majority of season ticket holders are not going to upgrade their membership. There's no need to. But I think it's a slippery slope idea anyway, because even if they'd have come up with some range of merch which was like unbelievable, but realistically, how are you going to do that? What are you going to, how are you ever going to produce a range of merch that everybody's just going to literally fall over that it's that good? So it was always going to be a very risky thing. I think fundamentally you've got to, I think you spin the question around the other way and say, if you're at the football club and you're putting these packages together, what do you think offers value for money? The problem that you've got is that the club won't be looking at it massively from that perspective. The club will be looking at it purely from the fact that it's a revenue stream, which is understandable. But when I paid my 50 quid last season for the gold, and I say I've done it again for this season, and I obviously don't know what the gift is. They did say, didn't they, that it was going to be an improved gift. Yeah. Like I say, last season's we jested.
Two key rings.
Yeah, we've jested about it, but obviously last year's was a bit of fake grass in a key ring and a red card holder wallet thing. Which who has wallets these days anyway, and B, I reckon you probably couldn't have got more than 2 cards in it anyway. No. So that was one issue. The bigger issue, as we've discussed many times, is the fact that I think it wasn't made clear before last season that basically your how do they word it? Your priority access to tickets was actually basically the ability to enter a ballot, which if we'd have, it wouldn't have changed anything, I don't think, from my point of view, because I would have still done it. But a lot of people understandably were not happy about that because it wasn't made clear. Obviously this year we know that's as clear as. Do you know what? I honestly don't know. It's hard to say, isn't it? Because at the end of the day, they're a business. They've got to make money. I don't know the cost of these things. For me personally, access to an exclusive range of merch makes no difference to me, because it's stuff that I've still got to pay extra money for. It'd be nice to have. I honestly don't know what kind of freebie, what kind of gift would be nice. I don't know, like what's something that's sort of useful daily, maybe like a water bottle, like a thermos style water bottle, like a metal water bottle, something like that.
That's pretty good.
Something along them lines, I think would be more.
I was thinking for Dragon members, you should get a signed team poster, because that's good. And I think for Gold members, you get the signed team poster and an individual player's signed photograph of your choice.
Yeah.
So you could say, I want Kiefer Moore, and they would say, and it wouldn't have to be. It could be printed. It could be printed.
Yeah, of course.
But have that as a whatever. And you're right. Yeah, something practical like a water bottle, or something where you're just thinking, something like that. But the thing is, I mean, I was thinking for a Gold member, why not offer something like retro shirts? There have been some great retro shirts that have come out recently from other clubs who have started releasing retro shirts. Why not make some retro shirts and offer those?
I mean,
I guarantee you a large portion of Wrexham fans would buy the Gold membership to be able to get access to get a legacy Wrexham shirt.
To be fair, that's actually a really, really, really good idea, because I think that is like an incentive that would encourage people, whether you're a season ticket holder or just a normal fan. That would encourage a lot of people to spend the extra money on the higher grade of membership, because, like you say, there's a lot of people who would love access to be able to buy a Dennis the Menace kit, or one of the, like you say, the Andy Marriott goalkeeper kit or something like that. The downside is the only problem that you've got with stuff like that is because they've been made by different brands over the years. I don't know whether there's any kind of like iffy copyright. I don't know, but
it doesn't have to be exact though, does it? It doesn't have to be. You know what I mean? You've seen Wrexham Lager have done Their versions of
Oh god,
shirts.
yeah.
You know,
yeah.
so you can do it. The other thing as well as I do for gold members is because obviously you get a percentage off at the club shop, but do you get a percentage off if you buy food and drink on match day?
You can't buy food and drink on match day.
But offer 10, 15%.
Yeah.
Well, if you present your your club membership or whatever, and you get whatever
free program you could do. There's multiple things you could do.
Free cup of tea.
Yeah, unfortunately, the bottom line is that this all they've done is they've tried to come up with some things that they think will appease a lot of the fallout from last year. But again, it's not really, they've not done it right, unfortunately. But I get the feeling at the minute with all these things, ticketing is another thing. They're just riding this wave, aren't they, until the cops open. It'll be fascinating to see what they do with memberships when the cops open, because I dare say at that point you might then be able to actually have a membership scheme where you could say, right, we've got this tier of membership, which is X amount of pounds, and this, that guarantees you get access to at least 3 match day tickets a season or something like that. You know what I mean? You could completely expand it out. Because that's what people want the memberships for, isn't it? It's for tickets.
So if you did have your gold membership, you have bought your gold membership and you're really not getting your value for money, then messages that you've got gold membership, and Jamie will record a personal message for you for every single person who messages us, just to say thank you, and you'll get money out of your gold membership. How's that?
No problem. I'll do that. What's that site called? Cameo. I'll stick myself on Cameo.
Stick yourself on Cameo. Yeah, that'll do it.
Yeah. £7.50 a message.
No. They get it as part of their gold membership. Give them value for money. You just have to do it for free. Live with it.
Well, hang on. What do I get out of it? Who's going to do my message?
You get the satisfaction of you have provided value to gold membership, which seems you're the one who's moaning about the fact that there isn't any.
No problem. Yeah. If you want a personalised message from me, can you ask for one? I will gladly, happily.
So birthdays, weddings, anniversaries, funerals, whatever.
Can you imagine somebody putting a video of me up in their wedding? 60 guests going, who the fuck is this?
Hi, Jamie here from the Butchers Podcast, wishing Trevor and Dolly a happy wedding day. Oh man, I'm doing that. Yes, do it. Messages, and Jamie will record your personal message.
Don't be afraid to cry now, even when the world comes crashing in. Don't forget to sing when you win.
Another episode of Welcome to Wrexham was on Friday, and spoiler alert, wind on if you don't want to hear anything about last week's episode, because we're going to talk about it in depth. Episode 4 was entitled Wales Forever, and ahead of the Swansea-Wrexham game, the Welsh clash, we touch base with Nathan Broadhead, Lily Jones, and the Wrexham AFC Power Chair team players, which all of them embody the Welsh spirit. We see the side of current players that we've not really seen before, and we were introduced to Power Chair player Will Rees. Jamie, this was an interesting one, because it was, if you're Welsh, it hits at the heartstrings because it's very patriotic. It did a lot about the Eisteddfod and about Lily being part of the Gorsedd, which was great. And then you've got Nathan Broadhead, who they just seem to catch players at the wrong moment where they're all having nervous breakdowns by the looks of it, because Nathan Broadhead kind of broke down about the fact that he was away. I shouldn't laugh; it's not funny, But it just seems to be that they seem to catch players when they're that they seem to at a low ebb. To be honest, I mean, that for me was quite distressing. Actually, I found that quite difficult to watch.
Yeah. I think that's quite a good way of putting it. I think it was a really good episode. I think it was very much up there. Last week's was felt like a bit of a filler. This was a really good episode again. Another phenomenal example of how good these guys are at put this show together. The way that they were spinning the plates of so many different stories, but it all kind of intertwined. The Nathan Broadhead piece was interesting. I think. I think first and foremost, it was a stark reminder that we've got to remember these guys are human beings. You know, it's very easy to give abuse, whether it's in the stands, on social media, or whatever. But these guys are human beings, and I think what was quite fascinating about the Broadhead bit was, obviously there's been times last season where his commitment and his desire has been sort of questioned. And I think it was pretty evident from that message that it means the world to him. You know, he wants to be successful, and he wants to be successful at Wrexham and for Wales. So that was one thing, which then leads me back to thinking, well, you know, when he cuts a figure of, you watch him and you think he's disinterested or whatever, that then makes me think he's frustrated because of where and how he's being asked to play. So that then comes back to the whole thing of, well, we signed him, so we've got to make it work.
Yeah.
So that was quite interesting. Like you say, the emotion of him telling the story about sort of leaving home so young, and I tell you what, that was really eye opening. That was, you know, my little nephew is so what is he now? He's 5, 6, and he's doing trials with. He's been at Man City. He's been at a couple of other clubs. You know, even at that age, and I think to myself, you know, it's so young to be getting involved in it, but that's what happens in this day and age. But when you kind of, again, it was a real eye opener from the point of view of, you don't quite realise what a lot of these professionals go through to get to the top, and there's so many that will fall before they get to the top. So that's a real credit to him as a person. You know, the fact that he left home as young as he did, and to hear him say things like, you know, he felt like he missed out on his childhood and stuff. Is, like you say, it was pretty haunting to listen to that. But the fact that he's managed to make it is great, and obviously the fact now he's got his missus and a little one on the way and stuff. That's nice to see. But yeah, it was an interesting piece because it again, and this is something that the show does really well, doesn't it? Is it adds it adds personality to people, players in this case, that we would never normally get to see. We get to see them on a social media post from the club, or we get to see them on a Saturday afternoon or a Friday night, or whenever it is. You know, so the great thing about documentaries, it gives us some good insight into these players and them as people, not as footballers. So yeah, that was really interesting. The obviously the Swansea bit was really interesting.
It was weird though, because we got Parky enthusiasm in the half time, and then we got Parky disappointment at the end. And I don't know which is worse. It's that thing, isn't it? Of it's like when your dad, you want your dad to be angry at you. But it's worse when he turns around and he goes, "I'm just disappointed in you," and I get that feeling that it was like a bit like that.
I think you're right. I think the thing that was really interesting was the speech before the game, because you know we said, didn't we, last season after the Swansea game, after the Cardiff game, you know, we've been told by the players, we've been told by Parky and the news conferences and things, that they've drilled it into the players how important this is to the fans, and you saw it there firsthand. You know, he was letting them players know that this meant a lot to the fans that had travelled, and to the fans, full stop. So that then beggars the question, well, then what happened between that and on the pitch? You know, where has it fallen down? You know, is that a leadership problem on the field? Is that a mentality thing amongst the players? Who knows? But I think it was nice to actually see, you know, Parky going through actually see him saying the words that we'd heard he'd said. But yeah, I think it was the one takeaway I got from that was the reminder of Arthur's mistake. I hadn't forgotten about it, but I'd forgotten how bad of a mistake it was.
Terrible. Yeah,
it was such a bad mistake that was, and you look back at things like that and you think you can, you know, it's maybe those are pieces in a jigsaw that ultimately has left Parky in the situation where he is now, where he dropped him at the end of last season, and it looks like potentially, you know, we're not sure what his future is. But yeah, I mean, it was bittersweet, wasn't it? From the point of view, obviously, Swansea fans giving it the big one about being, being the biggest and being the best.
It was worse than being there, trust me, because I just heard them as I was leaving the ground.
The thing that made me really laugh was that Swansea muppet who saying, we've earned it, Wrexham have bought it. And I'm like, are you actually, honestly? And then I like the fact that they had a little bit of a tongue-in-cheek dig at the whole Snoop Dogg thing. That was quite funny. So yeah, that was good. It was nice to see Lily obviously get a little bit of screen time for her involvement with the Eisteddfod and stuff. But without a doubt, they stand out from the episode, as I've put in my handle there. That lad, what a personality, Will Rees. What a personality. I mean, again, just as an aside, really, it's great that they've used some time on the documentary to give some spotlight to the power chair football, because it's something that I've kind of heard about, but I've never kind of really looked at it or seen anything about it, and it's great to see that the club are supporting it and getting behind it. As much as they are, which is brilliant. But yeah, I mean, that lad, what a personality. I mean, again, like with Katrina the cleaner the other week, I mean, introducing us to these people and these personalities. I mean, the two bits that got me absolutely creased were the fucking get in when he scored. That was just brilliant. And then the fact they did the Will's enthusiasm, that was funny. But then the fact that he was giving Danny Ward shit as well, that made me laugh. Oh, yeah, you need to be faster, Danny. I'm trying, Will. I'm trying. But yeah, I mean, what a genuinely nice lad. What a genuinely nice family. Is certainly how it came across. Somebody that's absolutely passionate about what he's doing, and it's great that it's great that him and the other players have got the opportunity to do that. I hope there are more and more clubs that get involved and do stuff like that, because it's fantastic for people who haven't, who can't play, able-bodied football. But yeah, what an absolute pleasure it was to be introduced to him. So yeah, I hope he gets some kind of positive fallout from that episode, because it was just brilliant. Yeah, really
I think so. I mean, the good thing is that the AFC. Wrexham AFC Power Chair team have been massively successful this year. I mean, they've managed to secure promotion to the Northwest Regional League at the first time of asking. They had two of their last games at the end of the season against Southport and Preston Spitfires. They beat Southport 7-0, which is incredible, and then they beat Preston 5-0 with Will scoring 2 to get promotion. So double win in the last day of the season.
The thing is, I can see him whizzing round the edge of the court, going, "You're fucking shit, you're fucking shit." Yeah. I can just see him doing that, because I mean, not in a nasty way, but what a character. He was just such a brilliant little character
and it was interesting because you had that kind of joy and delight and the brilliance that is playing sport, as an individual.
Absolutely.
And then there was because Welcome to Wrexham is not going to let you get away with empty-handed. Is at the end, then they show you the 3 players who have died during the previous 2 seasons, and you kind of go, "Fuck, really?
Yeah.
Can't you just let us have this moment of delight and joy for a Wrexham team is successful?" I mean, I get it, and absolutely, it's the right thing to do to show a mark of respect and in memoriam, but. Oh, stop it, please. I haven't got any tears left. And I know it's only going to get worse. Stop it. But yeah, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant, to be fair. And great to see Will doing his thing. And as I say, hopefully we'll get to catch up with him a bit later where they talk about the fact that they did manage to get promoted, which will be absolutely brilliant. But again, another cracking episode, Jamie. I mean, we're 4 episodes down, 4 to go. We're whizzing through them now, but... And you can look for the story arc, can't you, really? Because we've gone from this kind of, here we are in the Championship, here's the women starting off with new management. It's faltering. And we've all kind of hit a low point. Halfway through the season, we've hit that low point of the Swansea game. And now it's going to do that, isn't it? Because we're going to go to the FA Cup games of Nottingham Forest and Chelsea. We're going to show Wrexham actually doing incredibly well after Christmas. We're going to do there'll be stuff about the women, because the women now will be starting to power through as they go to Adran Trophy and League win, and get to the last game of the season where we almost made it into the playoffs. So it's again storytelling at its very, very best, because it mixes football with the stories that surround us every single day that we can identify with. We don't have to know those particular people, but we know other people who are probably going through very similar, troubles and tribulations in their life.
They've done a brilliant job this so far of like the balance between the stories and the football. That's for sure. And I think the one thing that's been a stark reminder in these first 4 episodes is the fact that, I think we probably all were a little bit, how's this season going to go? With the fact that it's not got a big happy ending like the last 3. And then the fact that it's been commissioned again for another 3 seasons, and you think, oh Christ, that's a bit risky, isn't it? Because what happens if we stay in the Championship for another 3 seasons? But I think what this series or this season has shown us is that it doesn't necessarily have to be a promotion story, because there's still so much to tell, on and off the pitch. So it's crazy that we're halfway through it already. It's mad to think they only. Well, I say only. It's mad to think they only do 8 episodes. The amount of footage that they must film, and the amount of I buy hard drives for my work, for my job, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, they must spend thousands on hard drives to store all this footage in, because they're always filming, aren't they? They're always there. I mean, certainly on match days and stuff, and you think, Christ, the amount of actual footage they end up using. But yeah, another really good episode.
So Cymru lined up on Tuesday to play Ghana in a friendly. Fairly decent lineup that Craig Bellamy had put out, and it helps if I add Jamie to this one. Carl Darlow in goal, Williams, Roden, Lawler, De Silva, Ampadu, Sheehan, James, Brooks, Thomas, and Kiefer Moore up front. Also Danny Ward and Nathan Broadhead came on later on. So all 3 of the Wrexham Cymru players involved in that. I mean, again, that's a strong 11 for me. That's a really strong 11 for me. That's the 11 we should have had, really. And I know it was quite close, but the 11 we should have had against Bosnia. But I mean, how much of this game did you manage to see, Jim?
I saw bits of it. I've had a very, very busy week this week, so it's been really hard to watch the football, and why I didn't watch TST. But I saw bits of it. I think. I mean, first and foremost, the kit. I think it's worth just a quick mention on that kit, because I know we spoke about this a few weeks ago when they what's the word? When they released the kit.
Yes.
And I think at the time I said, not for me that. But I tell you what, it looked proper. It looked really, really good with the lads wearing it. Very obviously very old school, very simple, but it looked really smart, I thought. So that was nice. But yeah, the lineup, like you say, I think there's probably not too many changes you would make to that. I mean, probably you'd have Harry Wilson in probably instead of Sheehan. But other than that, it's probably not too far off. The strongest 11.
No. Not at all.
So it was good to see that obviously. I don't think it's in Bellamy's DNA, is it, to not play any game and be competitive. So I think it was always going to be a strong side. I think the unknown obviously was Ghana. I think. Did you go?
No, I didn't.
I mean, I think that's probably the one thing that is a talking point, isn't it? Which is the attendance or lack thereof. I mean, how many were there? Did you
11,000.
Yeah, I mean,
in a 32,000 seater stadium.
I mean, it looked poor, didn't it? It looked poor, and I think credit to the Barry Horns, because they made a real fist at trying to keep an atmosphere going. I think credit to the Ghanaians as well, because they had,
Oh, yeah.
they were there in, I think there must have been a good 1,500, 2,000 of them, but they were very much in party mode. So I think the atmosphere certainly came across on the TV. The atmosphere was probably seen better than the numbers suggested, but it was sad to see, wasn't it? It was sad to see, like you say, a 30,000 stadium with a third of the stadium full. But yeah, I think that was always going to be the case, wasn't it? The fact that we missed out on qualification.
I think fans were always going to vote with their feet. I mean, again,
Yeah.
Ghana is not really a side who you would go out of your way to watch. It's a bit like the bad old days. This kind of I want to say kind of 2010s up till 2014. There was some, and before that, the kind of late 90s. Cymru really struggled with fans at that point, and it was very, very difficult from that point.
I think Ghana definitely benefited from the game more.
Oh,
The fact that they're off to the World Cup, we were a good opposition for them ahead of the World Cup campaign, whereas for us, it was a nothing game, and I think at times that showed.
I want to talk to you about that. I want to talk to you about that in a minute, because I just want to do a praise of the game, and then Daz has pre-recorded a thing which we'll run, and then I'll want to talk to you about the game. I mean, Lewis Kumas headed an equaliser just about in time added to earn Cymru a 1-1 friendly draw at home to Ghana, who were denied a winning start under Carlos Queiroz, who I didn't realise he was still in, because obviously when we were at the World Cup, the last World Cup, he was managing Iran and managed to beat us. So
let's call a spade, right? He is stealing a living, is what he's doing.
Oh, absolutely,
He is fundamentally he is managing these really obscure nations, probably getting paid a shitload of money, and is a bit of a win-win for him, really, because he's never going to win it. He's never going to achieve anything with any of these nations.
No, not at all. Cymru played well for the first half. Definitely, Dan James hit the post and the crossbar in quick succession during the first half, which Cymru totally controlled. And you can see from the stats, if I put them up now, we had 66% of possession. I mean, again, the usual story for me is we played really, really well through the phases, but last third, fairly pointless. And Kiefer up front, to be honest with you, did very, very little. Dan James was obviously player of the game, man of the match, because he was fantastic. But Kiefer, for me, did very, very little. Ironically, they were doing better crosses that he would have benefited from when he went off, which is a little bit weird. An indifferent opening hour, sparsely populated Cardiff City Stadium, as Jamie said. Ghana rewarded their fantastic fans with the opening goal. A substitute, how am I going to say this? Caleb Irinki. That's probably not right. Struck it on the rebound. Cymru eventually got the goal their performance deserved in the 3rd minute of added times. Nico Williams' superb cross from the right, nodded on by a stooping Kumas to score his first international goal. And this is the 3rd game without victory for Craig Bellamy's men, even if the performance had its bright moments. Jamie, I'll ask you for your praise in a second. But Daz has recorded quite a lengthy review of this one, because he wasn't there either. He was stuck in London. So Daz, good night for Cymru, bad night for Cymru. What do you think?
Right. So, first of all, celebration of 150 years. Really important landmark. One of the original sort of bastions of Welsh, football heritage. So FAW deservedly celebrating 150 years. I mean, it's quite an ending so far, and to still be as relevant and as important today as it was at the beginning. So yeah, we talked about it last week a bit about the type of game this was going to be, and there's lots to talk about, isn't it? First of all, the type of opponent. The interest from the game and how many people would be interested and what would be the turnout, and then ultimately what the performance is going to be. So first of all, I quite like the fact that we were playing an African side. I thought the idea of, because I didn't realise we hadn't played certainly hadn't hosted an African side before, and they certainly knew how to bring the party. I mean, the crowds looked fantastic. I wish I would have been there just to sort of experience that. So they were definitely there to have a party and part of the celebration before they go on to the World Cup. So fair play to their fans and stuff. Our crowd numbers, pretty poor, but we knew it would be. But I think I was still surprised by how little. But then, who am I to comment? I can't criticise. I wasn't there. I would have, but it was work. But I think a lot of people stayed away because friendlies have always been tough crowds, it's a tough gig to fill at the stadium. So well done to everybody who made the effort. The boys needed the support. Important to sort of see them off at the end of this season as such, because I know the next game is away. So really important opportunity to sort of support the team. So I'm glad they had a vocal crowd, a decent crowd, but then not decent enough really. So that's a bit of a shame. But what they got to witness, wow, I mean, interesting game. I thought, you can argue that Ghana perhaps, aren't the side in terms of quality or the expectation of the level of their game. I don't know. There were some flashes. I thought they were, but we just dominated the game. We had really good possession. We looked like we were going to break through far more times than they did. Obviously, Dan James hit the bar or crossbar and the post. So, did everything but score. So those opportunities and moments were there. But I thought there was a lot of confidence throughout the side. I mean, a side which was pretty much full strength. Wilson omitted, I guess, because of obviously he withdrew. But really, I mean, it was pretty much full strength if you think about our recent squads, which is very telling of Bellamy's feelings on friendlies, and I quite liked that as well. And it sounded like from the commentary that you got from hearing what the boys were saying in the dressing room and before the game. I was watching Feast of Football, and he takes them seriously, and everybody who turns up for a Welsh camp has to take it seriously. You put on the shirt and you play for the badge. And putting on the shirt was very different this time around, of course. They had this, the commemorative shirts in the style of days gone by, with the subtle Adidas emblem sort of embedded in it as well. So nice gesture to the history. It looked very strange watching players in those kits, but I loved it. I thought it was great. It looked really good. So dominant performances. I thought some really, really good play. I thought Darlow had a couple of moments where, okay, he had that one slightly under-touched, just a bit short on his pass, which nearly let Georgian Ayew in at the end of the first half, which was a bit of a scare, but he did well to make up for it. But apart from that, it's a couple of spectacular saves. I thought he did really well. So we should have been ahead. We should have dominated. But ultimately we were very lucky to go in 0-0 at the end there. Could have, of that first half. Second half, again, I thought we were mostly the dominant team. I think obviously a lot of shape and form and everything went out the window when we did a few of the substitutions. We lost our way a bit. But I mean, it's as goals go to concede. It was a bit frustrating. I mean, defensive. I don't know. Ghana had their chance and they took it, and there was just plenty of opportunities to clear that ball away. So we needed to be more disciplined. We needed to be more effective in those moments, and whether or not we just stop concentrating or what. But they take the lead, and I thought that was it looked like it was going to be the final result. It looked like that was going to be the sting in the tail, that we outplayed. We dominated the game. And as a team that we should be, as a team, going to the World Cup, we're worthy of a place in the World Cup, and yet we've managed to let Ghana get ahead. And then right at the dying death, fair play. There were still chances. We were trying to make efforts. We were really pressing, and it did look like only us that were ever going to get us. It was only ever looked like we were going to get an equaliser rather than then push on for a second goal. Personally, Nico. brilliant. I mean, Nico's been fantastic. I mean, he's player of the season for Nottingham Forest. He's won player of the season, the month for them for so many months. He's absolutely had a storming season, and to pick himself up after the penalty miss, I just think that just shows real character in the lad, and fair play to him. But he picks his head up, gets a brilliant cross in, and Kumas. I mean, Kumas scores. I mean, that's something I haven't heard for a long time, and it was nice hearing it again. I don't know how many father and son combinations can ever say that they've scored for their country, but I'm particularly, keen, and happy because obviously he's a Liverpool youth player, and he's on loan, and really would love him to get some time back at Anfield, because I just think it's great having a Welsh player in the Liverpool squad for me personally. But we've always had that as a sort of historic connection. Bellamy being a good example of that. So I think, I think it was a great cross, but what a header, and really deft touch, really good quality finish, and I think totally the least we deserved in that sense. It was getting a draw. So yeah. I think we'll take away lots of lessons learned about game management. I think Bellamy will certainly do that. I don't think they posted it in. I think they generally gave it an effort. But we've got a lot of work to do on being more clinical, making the most of when we get the ball to make sure that we take the chances and score. And we've got to be really resilient and solid at the back. But can't complain. With the crowd, motivation and everything was tough, but they did really well. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens now with the next game. With Romania, we haven't played them, I don't think, since that 93 game, infamous game where we should have qualified for USA. So very different team, and also playing away. So it'll be very telling about what Bellamy responds to this week's game to the next one, and see what he does in terms of giving some of the fringe players an opportunity, or does he keep sticking with his first strength team? So yeah, no, I was very pleased that we got that result, but it still just keeps reminding us that we're not at the World Cup, and that's really, really hard, and we'll just have to watch it from the sofa.
Yeah, so Jamie, this was a weird one, because the second half kind of got broken up by all the substitutes, because obviously when you make massive amounts of substitutes, that's what's going to happen. I just really felt that we were really pushing hard, going hard in that first 20 minutes, but could not find the goal. As I say, hit the post, hit the bar. So many times we get through to that final third and just not even get it on target. And for me, it's a constant frustration. I don't know how you felt about the game in general.
Yeah, I mean that's constant frustration in the final third is a great little kind of thing to focus on, really. I mean, those stats tell a story, don't they? 18 shots, only 3 on target. It's a pretty poor return. It was a very frustrating game because at times we played really well. I mean, there was one move in the first half where it was literally like watching prime Barcelona. It was just unbelievable. Which resulted in an effort on goal. But I think what you could evidently see was at times it was a end of season nothing friendly from our point of view, because our press when we didn't have the ball was non-existent, and that's not what we've come to expect from a Craig Bellamy side. And I'm not that sounds like I'm being critical. I have a lot of empathy for the players, because I think you've got to look and say, okay, I know they're professionals and everything else, but they've had long, hard seasons. Why are they playing this game? We talked about this last week. Why are they even playing this game? And I know there's the whole thing of they're professionals, absolutely, and they're wearing the shirt, their national shirt, absolutely as well. But I do have a bit of empathy for them, because it must be quite difficult at this stage of a season, with knowing that you're not going to the World Cup. It must be difficult to kind of to put yourself in the right mindset,
and not helped when you're in a stadium that's only a third full.
Yeah, exactly. And I think who was doing the commentary, the English commentary?
It was Tom Lockyer.
That was it. Yeah, it was Tom Lockyer that said he made a comment about the crowd, and he said something along the lines of when Wales play at home, we've always viewed it as a 12th man. It's that significant. So yeah, you're right. I think the lack of, and again, that's not a criticism to the fans. You can understand.
But-
it's been a.
But again, you've played it at the CCS, the biggest ground in Wales, right? Why not play it at Wrexham?
Well,
It would have been full. It would have been packed out.
Yeah, that's where I was. That was going to be my next thing. Where I was going with it is, and I know there's been a few people that have called this out, but the sooner the better that COP is built, and we can try and break this monopoly of only playing games down in South Wales, the better. Because, like you say, it would have. We'll never know, and it's easy for me to sit here and say it now, won't we? But it would have been fascinating to like you say, if that had been at the racecourse, it would have been full, just purely on the basis of the fact that we still only got the 3 sides at the minute. But
the atmosphere would have been better.
Yeah, oh god, yeah.
And possibly more people would have tried to, because again, a lot. Yes, there are a lot of Cymru fans in South Wales, totally, absolutely, but there are a lot in North Wales as well. And to travel is a massive pain in the behind, particularly to travel on a Tuesday night, and you're travelling for a game which doesn't mean anything. A huge amount of North Wales fans would have said, do you know what, I'm not going to bother.
Absolutely, and you can't blame them for it. But I think that's definitely a factor, that the lack of a raucous red wall that we would usually have at home wouldn't have helped either. But yeah, and frustrating is a very good way of putting it. I mean, I think Ghana were a very physical side. They were a very physical side, and I think if they kind of get it together, I think they'll be quite a tough team to beat. I'm not expecting them to go and do anything spectacular at the World Cup, but I think they will be a tough team to beat.
Well, they're in England's group, aren't they? That's why they played us. They're in England's group, so they'll be playing England. So
I mean,
it'll be interesting to see what happens there.
You've got to be honest and say they were lucky not to have a man sent off. I think it was only because it was a friendly that the referee kept his card in his pocket. Should have been a double yellow
for that guy who.
Yeah.
I don't know his name, but I know which one you mean.
But I think. I think it was understandable. It was an understandable performance from Wales' point of view. I think there were times during the game where it was a better performance than I maybe expected it to be, which was a positive. And I think you have got to try and pick some positives out of it. Dan James, a huge positive.
Superb.
I mean, you can see when you watch him play like that, and it's like when he played against Bosnia. When you watch him play like that, you can understand why Man United bought him a few years ago, because I think unfortunately he's just in injuries, and consistency has not worked for him, and that's why he struggled there, and why he doesn't get in the Leeds team week in, week out. But I think if he's on form, he's unstoppable. He's a proper old school winger, and he's unstoppable. So that is a definite positive in there. We dominated the middle of the park. Dominated the middle of the park, which was great. And I think, we weren't, certainly in that first half, we didn't look overly threatened. And I think, I think the fact that we weren't 1-0 up at half time really was a little bit of a frustration. But like you say, we lack in that creativity in the final third. You said about Kiefer Moore being a little bit ineffective. I think what you saw there was why Kiefer Moore ended up coming to Wrexham, because I think the Wales team were playing like Sheffield United used to play when he was in the team, and they're not playing to his strengths. And that's not a criticism of the way Bellamy's playing, but Kiefer Moore is not going to get the ball down just after the halfway line and go and beat 3 players. He's not that type of player. But I think we missed Harry Wilson's creativity. Obviously, he's been such a key figure in the last sort of 12, 18 months. He's that number 10. That link between the midfield and the forwards. But yeah, lack of creativity and lack of decent attempts up top was for sure. But yeah, it's really disappointing that we ended up conceding a goal in the second half. And
I mean, that goal was poor. I mean, we had the ball in their half, we had it under control, gave it away, and then we were on the back foot. We didn't track back quick enough They absolutely were all over us. The goal in the end was sloppy because it came from a rebound. Carl Darlow, I haven't got any criticism for him. He tried his very, very best. But for me, it was just so sloppy. It didn't, considering we've been so dominant for the previous 65 minutes.
Yeah, that sloppy is a great way of summing it up. It was sloppy. It was a piss poor goal to concede. Like you say, for that one, Cardallo, you can't really point any fingers at him. He did have a right brain fart moment, obviously, in the game, which nearly bit him in the arse. Although you have to give him some credit. His follow up save was decent. But yeah, that was such a shit goal to concede. And in all honesty, at that point, I'm thinking, as the game then is trickling towards the end, I'm thinking, how have we lost this game? We've not played amazing, but we've certainly not been the worst team. We've been probably the better team over the course of the game. How are we going to lose this game? And then thankfully, like you say, right on the death, Lewis Kumas gets his first goal.
What a goal!
What a ball! What a ball! I mean,
reminds me of his dad. Jason Kumas.
Nico Williams. From a Wrexham point of view, it's such a shame that he's as good as he is, because he is literally
what we need.
What we need.
Yeah,
literally what we need.
Absolutely.
The downside is that he's realistically he's probably mid to top end of the Premier League.
Easy.
So the chances of getting someone like that are slim to none.
I mean, can you imagine him in the current side in a Wrexham shirt? He would be a total and utter cheat code at the Championship at this level. He really would.
Yeah, I mean, he's just the ultimate wing back, isn't he? He is the ultimate wing back. And what's really fucking frustrating is the fact that, we probably could have had him when he was a kid if we'd have had an academy. What a player, what a ball, what a brilliant ball. And credit to Kumas, brilliant header, really, desire, 100% desire to want to get there first. And a great finish. And thankfully, we got. I think you can make a case to say that we probably did enough to win the game, if I'm being honest. But at the very least, we certainly didn't deserve to lose it. So it was great that we managed to at least get a draw. The frustrating thing is I don't think Bellamy would have learned a great deal from that game, but we knew that before the game even kicked off.
He was quite defensive in his post-match interviews, which is quite interesting because lots of people were sort of saying a very similar thing. And one interviewer said something about, we basically said, we were really, really great in the first half, but we kind of fell off a little bit in the second half. And Bellamy said, well, obviously you know more about football than I do. And you're kind of thinking, all right, calm down, Craig, calm down. She's only asking a question. She's a journalist. That's her job. But a little bit snippy from that point of view. I think
the golf clubs.
Exactly. Exactly. I think the disappointing thing for me, Jamie, ignoring the fact that we couldn't finish, we are more than good enough to go to this World Cup.
Oh, yeah.
And that for me is the frustration. Yeah. Right? Why didn't that play turn up against Bosnia? Because it didn't. It didn't.
Yeah,
we were so toothless, particularly second half against Bosnia. Why didn't that side turn up against Bosnia when it really mattered? Because we would compete quite happily with many of the sides that are in the current World Cup starting next week.
You're right. It's sickening. That is without doubt the overwhelming feeling after this game against Ghana. It's sickening the fact that we're not going to the World Cup because, like you say, the fact they've expanded it out now. What is it? 48 teams
48
now?
teams, yeah.
And you look at some of the teams that are there, and hey, look, credit to any nation that's qualified and has got there. But the fact that we haven't been able to make it is just ridiculous. And like you say, I think the players and the coaches have got to look at themselves long and hard and say, it's on us. It's on us because fundamentally, it's not like it was I know it was a playoff in the end, but what I mean is it's not like it was a one-off game. They had a series of fixtures home and away in a group and ultimately didn't quite do enough. But then, like you say, when they get this final throw of the dice against Bosnia, it's gutting. It is gutting. It'll be gutting to watch this World Cup or watch bits of this World Cup and see some of these teams, because I'm telling you something, there'll be some of these teams will be playing in this World Cup will be dog shit.
Yeah.
And the fact that we've not even made it there is unbelievable. But we have to take it on the chin, and it's
well,
on us.
We have to learn from it, Jamie. We have to learn from it. We can't just go take it on the chin. We've got to go, right, well, it's not acceptable. Now, unfortunately, whether they like it or not, Cymru fans have gone from, if we get close to qualifying, what a nice surprise, to now there's an expectation. There's an expectation now that we should be competing and we should be qualifying. And so we have to learn from this. We've got to learn where were we short? Where did we fall over? And how do we not replicate that to make sure that we can qualify for the next Euros and the next World Cup?
The only one slight problem that you've got is that we're not blessed with a huge pool of players to pick from.
Yeah.
So this squad that we're used to seeing, give or take the odd player here or there, is fundamentally the best we have available. And it's not been enough to get us over the line on this occasion. That worries me a little bit, because I think to myself, now we've had the taste of a Euros, we've had a taste of a World Cup. We've had the unbelievable highs that we've had over the last 10 years with Wales, which we've never had before. And like you say, that I think I would agree with what you're saying from the point of view that there is an expectation, but I think there's only an expectation because when you look at some of the teams that are going to this World Cup, we are as good as them. So the fact that we're not one of them is that there is an expectation there. The only thing that worries me is that I just don't want to go back to the doldrums of 15, 20 years ago, where we are literally just the laughing stock and we can't qualify, because that would be such a shame. And I know Gareth Bale obviously was credited with a huge contribution in the success over that that last 10 years or so, and rightly so, because he was a one-man machine. But it wasn't. You can't. It's not one player. One player doesn't qualify for a World Cup. One player doesn't qualify for a Euros.
No.
It's a team thing, and what you're looking for, where is that next kind of talisman? And I'm not saying it's necessarily another Gareth Bale, but who is the next one in the Wales squad that can kind of take that mantle as being the leader?
Yeah.
And I'm just not sure. I think the only other thing which I just wanted to mention was I did think Nathan Broadhead looked really, really sharp when he came on.
Yes, as he did in the last Wrexham game.
Yeah.
When we in that Middlesbrough game, when he came on, he made a real difference, and he made a real difference in this game as well. So maybe, as I say, maybe he's starting to turn a corner and starting to feel a little bit more comfortable in whatever role now we're being played. Who knows? It'd be great to see him next season for Wrexham in a Wrexham shirt now start to really. I'm not that he said he hasn't contributed, because he has. He's scored goals at key moments and done some incredible things. But you kind of want a little bit. You want just a little bit greedy. You want a little bit more from him. From that.
The thing is, he's got that X factor. We know it. We've seen it. He's got that X factor. He is a quality footballer, and we've got to make it work. We've got to make him work, and we've got to try and find how we get the best out of him. And it'll be interesting to see, like you say, what happens next season, because I think it could very well be one of those situations where we've seen over the years where a player signs for a club, first season, huge expectation, and it's a bit of a damp squib. But then the second season, it clicks or whatever. It might, if we get the Nathan Broadhead next season that we thought we were going to get consistently this season, it'll be like having a shiny new signing again. So let's hope we see a bit more of that.
Now, Need More Chips podcast, it's time for today's newspaper, tomorrow's chip paper. We catch up on Cymru and Wrexham football news. First up, Wrexham AFC Women can now confirm that 5 under-19 players will be continuing their development at the club, according to the club website. Last season's under-19s captain Izzy Barnett will stay at the club. Barnett was named under-19s player of the season and players player of the season. She made her senior debut this past season when she faced off against NFA in the Beauty Energy Welsh Cup for the senior side. Also staying are goalkeeper Sophie Nash, Bella Riley, Tilly Ashworth and Anna Jones. Massive goal scorer Anna Jones. They will remain at the club, and the club has thanked everybody else who has done their part for the under-19s and wishes them best on their future careers. I think Grace Morris is probably the only shock for me that we've not taken on Grace Morris, because she's been such a major goal scorer and obviously as well been out to Hong Kong last year. But great to see at least five players coming from the under-19s that will be integrated into the senior squad, which is fantastic. And I would imagine the other under-19s will start to move off towards other clubs, I would imagine, like possibly Llandudno or Wrexham Foresters or Connors Quay Nomads.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it was always going to be a bit sad, wasn't it? When we found out that this league wasn't going to be happening. I'm sure the club would have loved to have kept everybody, but it's not possible. I think it's good that they've kept the five, because that tells you that there is some potential there. The fact that they've when you look at the other players that from the senior team that have been released recently as well, the fact that these five have been retained, like you say, to be integrated into the first team squad, that there's potential there. So that's good that we were that conveyor belt was starting to churn. Yeah, I mean, it was, like I said, it's great for those. It's disappointing for the ones that have not been kept on. And like you say, hopefully they can go off and find something for themselves. But yeah, it's going to be really interesting, isn't it, over this course of this summer before next season? Because, like I say, we've let a lot of players go. It'll be fascinating to see, like on the same on the men's side. It's going to be really fascinating on the men's and the women's side to see kind of what squads are put together, what squads are built on. From the women's point of view, won the league, won one of the two cups. There's only one. There's only one more thing you can do domestically that's any better than that, which is win the treble. Obviously, I'm sure they're going to want to try and tick some boxes on the European adventure as well. Nobody's expecting them to do anything phenomenal in the Champions League, but I think just to try and make some progress for a Welsh side will be the first target, I think.
Score a goal.
Score a goal.
That's the
score a goal.
Yeah.
It'll be really interesting. But no, great for the five that have been been kept on, and like I say, it'd be interesting to see how many of them actually end up seeing minutes in the first team next season.
And two ex-Wrexham players, in a bit of a shock move, have joined TNS after being released by the club. Abby Idenden and Hannah Snape have both signed up by the local rivals following their time with Wrexham. And also following Connors Quay Nomads women releasing manager Jordan Parry after his 10 years in charge. Ex-Wrexham under-19s assistant manager Andy Griffiths has been appointed their new first team manager. Firstly on the players.
Ooh.
Yeah. Abby and Hannah, both for me, fantastic players. I was shocked we released them. The fact that they've gone over to TNS, could that bite us in the arse, is the question.
Potentially. I'm not surprised that they've gone to TNS. I don't know what their private life situation is with regards to where they're based and the logistics and stuff, but you would assume that the fact they were at Wrexham, there's a relative locality to it. So obviously TNS not too far away. Ambitious club. They are an ambitious club, aren't they?
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think you're right that but I think it was inevitable, wasn't it? It was inevitable that some of these players that we released, if their desire was to carry on playing, it was inevitable that a couple of them were going to end up at a rival, or what will be a rival next year. Will it come back and bite us in the arse? You can pretty much guarantee that Abby Idenden will score against us next season. You can guarantee it.
Yeah.
but my thoughts on it when I saw that they'd signed was, first of all, congratulations and good luck
absolutely.
to them. I wish them nothing but good luck. But I think my overwhelming thought on it was remembering that we've released these players, and I'm thinking to myself, well, what have we got up our sleeve? What have we got coming in? Because, okay, it didn't work out for Abby Etherington last year, for example, but the season before, she was unbelievable.
She was playing,
a fantastic player. Same with what's the other lady's name? Hannah Snape. Same with Snape. Really, really solid player for us.
She started the season as an absolute, fantastic, and then suddenly, for some reason, stopped being picked. But I don't know whether that was because of. I mean, I remember, funny enough, at TNS, both myself and Matt from Racecourse Ramble asked her, "Are you injured?" She said no. She wasn't even on the bench, so I don't know what was going on there. Whether there was something going, who knows? We don't know. We don't know what goes on behind the scenes.
Well,
it's just they're both very, very good players.
Yeah, I was going to say that's the other thing, isn't it? As well, is that the footballing side to this is one thing, but obviously there's also the element of you don't know behind the scenes. I know we've got the documentary stuff, but we don't know whether. Unfortunately, there's going to be a situation in life where you're not going to get on with people. And I'm not saying for a second that that's the case here, but it might be. It might be the fact that maybe Jenny and her coaches and Abby and Hannah just, they just don't, they're not compatible or something. I don't know. I doubt it, but you never know, do you? You just don't know. But I think the bottom line is that we've released those two very, very good players amongst others. So my overwhelming thing is I'm fascinated to see what we've got up our sleeve as squad replacements, because you're going to assume we're going to want to improve, and I think to improve on those two and some of the others that we've let go, you're talking about good players. So yeah,
it is interesting that it's two of the players who obviously we have brought over from the English side. I would never imagine somebody like Lily Jones, if we let her go, to ever go to something like TNS, because I think it's ingrained in the DNA. If you are a Wrexham born and bred player, that you do not go and play for TNS. It'd be interesting to see if TNS also hoover up any of the Wrexham under-19s that have been released.
Is Lily still on a full-time contract or still part-time? So
I think she's on a full-time contract. Yeah.
I mean that's the only thing that you would say isn't it? Is I think it's very difficult for a player to never say never, because it's their livelihood at the end of the day. I know what you're saying, but it's their livelihood. And I think certainly on the women's side, there's so few options.
I know what you're saying, and I think for 99% of the time, I think you're right. I just think something like Lily Jones, you cut her in half and she's got Wrexham written right through it.
Oh, absolutely, 100%.
I don't think for 1 second that she would just go. She would go and play for somebody else, but not TNS.
Well, let's hope that never becomes a thing.
Oh no, I don't think so. No, not at all. And obviously, from the point of view of the Connah's Nomads, they have tried and failed for 2 years in a row now to get into the Adran Premier. They're still back in the Adran North after losing the playoffs for the second year running to Cardiff Met. Getting Andy Griffiths in, who obviously has track record for winning the Under-19s League, the national one this year, I think that's a very, very shrewd move, and I think will do nothing but help them, really trying to attain that promised land of getting to the Premier League.
Yeah, it's a sensible appointment, isn't it? I think it's a win-win on both sides. I think you look at his experience and his credentials and what he's been doing. He ticks a lot of boxes, and I think from Connah's point of view, obviously they've failed at the last hurdle for the last 2 seasons, so they need something different. They need to try something different, and maybe fresh ideas is what they need. So I think you're right. Shrewd appointment is probably a very good way of putting it.
And regarding the Junior Adran Leagues, the season dates for the 26-27 campaign have been confirmed. The opening day of Phase 1 will be on Sunday the 6th of September. with the final fixtures for Phase 1 being on Sunday the 31st of January. Phase 2 will kick off on Valentine's Day, Sunday the 14th of February, and the final round of Phase 2 fixtures will be on Sunday the 4th of April 2027. Regarding the Adran Trophy, there obviously are some qualifying rounds which will be going on where Adran South and North try and qualify, but the first round proper where the 8 Premier sides come in, the round for which is called the round of 16, that is on Sunday the 6th of November. Quarterfinals on Sunday the 20th of December, just before Christmas. Semi-finals will be on Sunday the 24th of January, and the Adran Trophy final, where hopefully we will get to defend our title, will be on Sunday the 7th of March 2027. The only thing really from our point of view, Jamie, is we've obviously got European games to play first, where we play 22nd, 25th of July. If we do manage to get through that, the next set of games is early to mid-August, where we might have to play in Europe, or we might have to host it, depending on how you look at it. That would kind of give us 2 weeks then before we start the season, maybe even 3. I think that's a fairly decent chunk of time where you would have those games, and possibly you'd have some friendlies in there, because I know Cardiff have already announced some friendlies with regards to that. But yes, that's a fairly decent timetable, isn't it?
Yeah, it doesn't seem to be anything there that's too much of a concern. I'm sure they'll be planning for planning for those European games with the hope that they can be involved in both in the stages. I would expect the squad and the plans to be locked in and bedded down much earlier this season than they were last season. Because obviously last season was all very last minute, and okay, it worked out in the end, but it could have gone the other way, couldn't it? So I'm sure they've got a full contingency of what they're looking to do and when. Hopefully those European games are something to look forward to, aren't they?
As I say, TNS obviously have made some signings. There have been some other signings. Cardiff have lost a huge amount of players at the moment. It'd be interesting to see how them and Swansea both fill the gaps that have been made by retirements and players leaving. And I saw on Jodie Bartle's social media this week, she was playing in the game for Cancer, but apparently she's injured, which is a little bit concerning. I'm hoping it's not serious, because she didn't play in the charity game. Hopefully not too serious, and she gets fully recovered, ready for European nights, because we're going to need her without a shadow of a doubt. So, yeah, absolutely. But I think it's going to be a really exciting Adran season, definitely, and everybody's going to be gunning for us this year. It's not going to be Cardiff. It's not going to be Cardiff who are going to be the targets this year. It's going to be us, and everybody will want to make a point. So yeah, it'll be very, very exciting to say the least. Well, as the football world turns its attention to the World Cup, there are still 3 international games this week involving Cymru sides, 2 of which are very important for qualification. Friday, 5th of June, the Stadion Pod Goricom, so today, as this has been released, kick off 5 p.m. BST. Cymru Women will play Montenegro Women in the penultimate game of this qualifying round. Montenegro are currently bottom of League B Group 1 with 4 losses, and the home fixture versus Cymru won 6-1, 2 goals from Hannah Kane, 2 from Mara Griffiths, and 1 each from Rachel Rowe and Sophie Ingle. And then on Tuesday, the 9th of June, the big one, Cardiff City Stadium, kick-off 6 p.m. BST, where Cymru Women meet Czechia Women in the top-of-the-table clash. Cymru currently second before we play the Montenegro game. Only on goal difference, though. The last game away against Czechia was a 2-2 draw. Czechia took the lead on 16 minutes. Hannah Kane equalised on 30 minutes. Czechia then took the lead again in the second half. And then, as we spoke about in the Golden Potato Wars last week, Elisa Hughes' goal, vital equaliser in the 93rd minute to draw that game 2-2 and walk away, with a very, very valuable draw at that stage of the season. Daz has left us his review and his thoughts. So Daz, what do you think? What do you make of these 2 qualifiers for Cymru Women?
Very important, crucial games coming up, and I would imagine 2 very, very different situations and 2 very different outcomes. So first one up is Montenegro. Now, I'm not saying that they are a given, But we'd like to think, after the results that we had already first time around, that this should, I'm not going to say formality, but if they play the way that Cymru always play, with the formation and the intensity and the tenacity and everything that we know that they can do, they will win. And that's important. That's ultimately what they got to do. Goal difference may come into it, though. So if we can get a scoreline similar to what we did at the home game, then brilliant, because that just gives us another cushion in a very, very tight group in terms of top of the table. Now, playing away is going to be very, very different. I have no idea. I haven't done the research enough to know what kind of stadium and whether or not, big crowds, what their numbers are normally like. I haven't checked to see sort of, where that fits in the big picture of things. But, I think even if the pitch is rough, even though the pitch is dry, we know we can play. This team is a really strong team and has managed to put in the results quite a few times in some really tricky away legs and stuff. So you'd hope that by the looks of things, majority of the team are looking fit and healthy, not too many scares in that sense. I know it was the end of the WSL season, so some players have played a few extra games. So but that's okay, so yeah, I think it's safe to say that the expectation is a win. I hope they don't slip up to complacency, and I certainly think that if they can get the goals, if Hannah Kane can be on form, if the midfield can support, if Elise comes on as well, Kerry Holland, all of them chipping in, then we've got a chance. We've got a really good chance of really building that goal difference. Which then brings me on to the big game. You can't underplay the significance of this particular game. And we talked about it last week. We talked about the fact that, the start of the campaign, it was crucial that we got that late goal and away against Czechia, which means, top of the table clash now, and it's all to play for. And you'd like to think that with the home advantage, that's we make the most of that advantage, and that's what I would hope. I would expect that the crowd do us proud. Gutted again. I'm ridiculously heading back up the M4, back to work. In London again. So I'm not going to be able to make it, which I'm absolutely devastated, because I think that this is going to be a good game. I think it's going to be a good game, and it'll be one to really enjoy watching on telly. But I would have liked to have been there with the crowd. But that's unfortunate. But yeah, I think again, if they play like they've been playing recently, they say that's going to be a more technical game. I think that's going to have to be really more very precise, because as I say, Czechia is a really strong pressing team. I think even though we're home, we might struggle to get the same levels of possession that we're used to. So all of these things are slight different variations to the more recent, more comfortable games. And so, yeah, it's going to be a test. It's going to be a test, and if they can get through, then it just means they get to be top of the table, and it just makes the next stage, it just makes it easy for the next stage of the qualification process. So, really important to get a result on that one. It doesn't really matter about the score line in that way. I think a draw, probably, if my memory serves me right, is going to be enough, but I suppose it depends what Czechia do in their remaining game before us. But I think we've got the goal difference. But even then, I think I can see Cymru doing enough to win, and hopefully giving the home crowd the result they want. So that's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm hoping. Can't wait to see the games unfold.
Well, Jamie, I mean, we have to be careful, don't we? Because Montenegro are bottom of the league, lost 4. We beat them 6-1. We still have to go in there and we have to win this game. That's the most important bit. We can't rely on Albania to beat Czechia, because that's probably not going to happen. Because again, Albania have not been that great. But is there a worry of complacency, of us just thinking we just have to turn up and we're going to win?
Yeah, I mean, there's always that. There was always that concern, isn't there, when you've got a game like this, which is what you'd consider a shoo-in. Um, there is always that concern, but this is where you look at the coaches and the senior players. Although I know obviously we've lost a couple of important senior players, but this is where that experience comes in to try and make sure that the team as a whole doesn't get complacent. It's easier said than done, and we've seen it over the years many times in various levels of football where complacency does get the better. But I can't I can't see anything other than a Cymru win, to be honest with you. Just for two reasons. One, because I just think the opposition, is one that we beat comfortably at home, and I think just the bottom for a reason. But also with the fact that the ladies will know that the winning that game sets up that blockbuster, doesn't it, on the Tuesday? And that'll be the one that they'll be really looking at. But again, it comes back down to the mentality of the players, the mentality of the coaches, to make sure they don't look beyond this game, because that can be a risky, a risky recipe if you think Christ, I think you could level that a little bit at the men's team in the playoff. I think we because even us on here,
we were all
we
thinking we were going to play Italy, weren't we? We were all thinking that.
Yeah, we were all saying it, weren't we? And look how that turned out. So, yeah, I can understand the question, and yes, I think we've got to be a little bit careful, but I think we have also got to try and find that balance between not being complacent, but being confident, because we should quite rightly go into the game confident.
What do you reckon score-wise for that one?
To be honest, I don't think there's going to be any kind of a cricket score like it was with the home game. We're in good form if you look at the unbeaten in the last four fixtures after the
10 points from 12. Yeah, no, very good.
The disaster after the disaster that was the Euros. Like you say, it was a crucial draw against Czechia in that first game, but then 3 good wins in the last 3 games. I think they'd be keen to keep a clean sheet this time, because I know they obviously conceded against Montenegro last time, which I think in a crazy way would have stung a little bit. So 2-0. Yeah, I'm thinking like a 2-0. We'll be fine. Just a win. Ultimately, I don't think.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. I'm a little bit more confident. I'd say 3-0, but 1-0 doesn't matter as long as it's a win. The most, because if we fail here, it makes everything so much more difficult. Because the thing is, again, I don't want to go through because this is only the first stage of qualifying for the World Cup in Brazil. But it's the most important thing is to get that top spot in the group, because that puts you in a better qualifying position against teams which aren't as strong. We will become a seeded side within that qualifying group. Whereas if you come second, you're unseeded. So then you could meet one of the bigger sides who have not managed to get through automatically. So this coming top of the group gives us the best possible chance and a better chance of meeting somebody who we would feel more comfortable against. And the problem is we've still got another 2, I think maybe even possibly 3 games, depending on how you look at it, to then qualify for the World Cup. So this is just the first bit. But the most important thing is getting top of that group. And I think that's the key, really, isn't it, for the win this game, Montenegro, and then Tuesday. I mean, we've got the advantage of being at home. That's a big advantage. I think there will be a crowd. I think ironically, there'll probably be more than there was for the Ghana game.
Where are they playing it?
Cardiff City Stadium, same place.
Yes, okay. Yeah, I was going to say, actually, it wouldn't surprise me if there's more people or the same amount of people as for this game, assuming we beat Montenegro today.
And we'll have learned a lot of lessons, I think, because obviously we came from, we played a friendly against Switzerland, earlier the year, beat them, and then there was a long period where we didn't play anything, and that Czechia game where we drew was our first cold open, where we were kind of saying, okay, this is the start of a new campaign, new broom, no Jess Fishlock, So it was a bit of we were kind of feeling our way. We've now ridden into this group quite nicely, but so have Czechia. Czechia are unbeaten as well. So it absolutely is and the sad thing about it is a draw isn't going to be enough because
No.
at the moment they've got us on goal difference. So
To be honest,
we have to win.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, you hope that both Wales and Czechia win their games today, tomorrow, Friday, because it will set up a really, really, good or what should be a really good game on Tuesday. Literally a kind of winner take all kind of scenario, which is great, isn't it? Because sometimes these internationals, group format internationals, can be a little bit of a damp squib. So if we get to a point where it's literally the last game of this stage and it's winner wins the group, then that'll be hopefully would make for an exciting game. Yeah, I'm confident we can beat and we will beat Montenegro. Likewise, I think Czechia will beat Albania as well, and then it'll literally be a shootout on Tuesday.
So what do you think they're going to be the result on Tuesday then?
I mean, ultimately, I think you've got to back Wales at home. I think it'll be tight. I think it was 2-2 in the reverse fixture, but like I say, that was a very late equaliser, wasn't it? I would say 2-1. I think a 2-1 Wales win. I just think at home, men's or women's team, if there's something riding on the game, you can't not back the Wales team. I know we said that against Bosnia and look what happened there, but
well, the difference is on this one is that if we do lose this, it's not a disaster. We would still qualify for the playoffs. It's just we wouldn't be in as strong a position. And right now, it's all about that position of strength that we need to go through to the next round. And we'll talk about that after this game. Once we do the review of this next week, we'll talk a little bit about what happens next, because it has FIFA are fantastic at doing. They've made it massively overcomplicated.
It's so complicated.
It's ridiculous. Exactly the same as the Women's Champions League, because we're going to talk about that next week. And about Wrexham's who Wrexham potentially might meet, and their qualifying campaign again massively overconvoluted from that point of view. But yeah, I think you're right. I think Cymru win 2-1, and that'll put us top of the league, and then we'll wait to see who we get in the draw. In between these two, Cymru Men have a game Saturday, 6th of June, at the Stadionol Stoia. Kick-off 6:45 p.m. BST. Cymru Men will play Romania. Romania ranked 56 in the world. They finished third in their qualifying group behind eventual Cymru conquerors Bosnia. And they went through to the playoffs via their Nations League position. However, they were beaten in the playoff semi-finals, the same as Cymru were, except they were beaten by Turkey, who eventually won their playoff completely to get through to the World Cup. Cymru and Romania have met 5 times in the past, with Cymru winning 1, drawing 1 and losing 3. The most infamous meeting between the two sides was on 17th of November 1993, when Cymru were on the cusp of qualifying for the World Cup in 1994, which ironically was also in the United States. They needed a win versus Romania at the old Cardiff Arms Park. A sellout 40,000 crowd watched as Cymru went 1-0 down before Dean Saunders equalised on 61 minutes to keep the dream alive. And then 2 minutes later, Gary Speed was fouled in the Romania box and Cymru were awarded a penalty. Up stepped Paul Bowden to take it. He scored every single previous penalty for Cymru, but he went for power rather than position, and he hit the crossbar. Cymru battled, but Romania scored in the 83rd minute and denied Cymru qualification for that night, and out we went. However, the whole result was put into full perspective that night, as on the final whistle, 2 Cymru supporters, Andrew McAllister and Kerry Hill, who sadly were both from Wrexham, fired a marine distress flare from their seat in the stands horizontally across to the stand opposite. It hit 67-year-old John Hill from Merthyr Tydfil in the neck and killed him as he stood next to his son. So sadly, the result meant very, very little. I was there that night at that game because I was in university at Cardiff at that time. And when we were awarded the penalty, I celebrated like we'd scored it. And I remember to this day, I was sitting here and the penalty was just off to my, it was at the goal just to my left. I remember it as if it was yesterday. he hit it so hard, Paul Bowden, and it just bounced off the crossbar post intersection. And then we were really trying hard, but the gut punch was Romania scoring. And I knew then that was it. But the saddest thing was, I remember the final whistle. I remember looking towards the centre circle of the final whistle. Just the final whistle thing. I saw this thing go across from the stand opposite me to the stand adjacent to me. So I was at the end, towards the end of the stand, and it went towards the middle of the stand, and I saw it go into the stand. And I thought, wow, that's stupid, whoever that was. But we didn't find out at the time, because then we were all held in the ground for half an hour, and I didn't realise until word started spreading that somebody's been injured by that flare. We only found out afterwards that the gentleman had sadly passed away due to the marine distress flare. And it was even more just frustrating for me and distressing, the fact that the two idiots who did it were from Wrexham, because that's something that our town didn't need at that time. They were charged with manslaughter. They pleaded guilty, and they got 3 years, which I think is an absolute travesty. But there you go. That's a whole different story. Yeah, and that's the thing. Whenever I look at Romania now, that's all I think of, Jamie, which is a bit sad. I mean, I think was it a bit too young for you to remember?
No, I remember. I mean, I was unaware of the incident until some years later. I know the story now. Yeah, I mean, just it's that whole thing, isn't it? Of the sad stories over the years of you should never not go home from a game of football. It's crazy, and for something so stupid as well. Tragic. But no, I do remember. I remember. Paul Bowden hitting the bar. I mean, I think the ball's probably still on the dark side of the moon. It came off the bar that
so hard.
So hard.
So hard. The thing is, as well, because we'd been on such a good run for this campaign compared to the previous couple of campaigns, that the whole of the nation really thought, this is it. This is our time. We're going to do it. Because even though Romania, we would have been vying for Romania, and the game in Romania, I think we'd lost 4-1 or 5-1. So they thoroughly beat us. Cymru supporters just thought, this is our time. The other reason I remember this night is because this was the same night that England played San Marino. And San Marino scored straight from the kickoff. And eventually England won that, but England didn't qualify. It was one of the few times that England have not qualified for a major championship. I remember that as well. But it was just, there was such a level of expectation from Cymru fans, because we were so close, and we thought, we're going to bring them to the Cardiff Arms Park, which is where the current Millennium Stadium stands, and it's a rugby ground, but still, it was packed to the rafters. So we had the ground behind us. We had such fantastic players then. I mean, it was the proper cream of the crop of Cymru players, because Ryan Giggs was playing for us then still. Obviously, Dean Saunders, Nev Southall was in goal. We were managed by Terry Yorath, who's one of the best Cymru managers we've ever had, without a shadow of a doubt. Always just amazed me, and I've always thought back, why Paul Bowden took the penalty? Why didn't Ryan Giggs take a penalty? He was on fire for Man U at the time. Why didn't but Giggs, he wasn't Man U's primary penalty taker, was he? No,
and Paul Bowden was. It's very similar to when you mention England there. It's very similar to the whole Stuart Pearce penalty miss. He was Forest's penalty taker. So even though you had players on the pitch that you could say, technically better players, and you could level that in this game as well, like you say, Giggsy, Gary Speed, you could have probably picked 4 or 5 players technically better than Bowden, but he was the penalty taker for club and country. So, like you say, he hadn't missed one. It was, I guess, nerves, pressure. It's what happens.
I think he just thought, I'm just going to make this really, really, really hard, because it's going to go in. And unfortunately, if you got it on target, there's no way the keeper would have stopped it, because it had gone through his hands, through the net, through the car park at the back of Womanby Street, and kept going into the centre of Cardiff City. I mean, this was kind of we then had a long period of turmoil in Cymru where we had some terrible managers and some really bad choices, and with moments of kind of fleeting hope, but the majority of it was a sea of crap, to be honest with you. So that was a sad thing about it. Anyway, let's get back to this game. So Jamie, we've got two teams. Neither of them have qualified for the World Cup. Both of them went out in the semi-finals of the playoffs. One of them managed to get through in the playoffs only because they managed to do well in the Nations League the season before. Nothing to play for. What's the point of this game?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I mean, at least with the Ghana game at the weekend, even though Wales are not going to the World Cup, you could kind of understand the rationale behind that. Ghana were looking for a decent opponent to hone themselves in before they go to the World Cup. Like you say, neither Romania or Wales are going to the World Cup. You've got
nobody's going to be paying attention to this because World Cup teams are playing friendlies over in the US and Mexico at the moment. So everybody is looking across the pond. Nobody is going to be paying attention to this game whatsoever.
No, you've got. I mean, you're going to have two sets of players who, like I said when I talked about the Wales Ghana game, he put a strong team out, and I'm sure he'll put a strong team out. But why are the players? What are the players?
Let the players go. They've had long seasons, loads of games. Let them go. Let them go off and enjoy the summer before. Because the problem is they won't get a huge. Because if they're Premier League teams, or as I say, the Wrexham, the Wrexham trio, we'll be getting involved next month in 5 pre-season friendlies across Europe and America. Anyway,
I think the only thing you'd say about this is you'd assume that this was organised a long time ago, and possibly the Ghana game, because surely that could be the only rationale to it, is that this was organised when both the football associations for the respective countries had a hope that they would be qualifying for the World Cup. Obviously, if both teams would have got to the World Cup, it would have been a good prep game, wouldn't it? But the fact that neither of them have qualified, I mean, what a waste of time for everyone. Waste of time. I can't imagine there's going to be a huge amount of people there. Although I haven't said that, I don't know kind of what the Romanian fans, what they're like. What a pointless game. Absolutely pointless game. And the problem is, it's stupid games like this where, fucking end up with a player doing an ACL or busting a leg or something.
Yeah, can you imagine if Kiefer Moore gets injured in this now and he's off for 6 months? I'd be furious.
Yeah,
I mean, the question is, do you think Bellamy will go? Well, let's blood some young players. Let's keep the established players out of it, and let's blood. Some young players.
I'd be flabbergasted if there isn't like at least 6 or 7 changes in the starting lineup. The likes of Kumas, for example, who came on. I dare say Broadhead will get a start. Danny Ward probably in goal. I'd be shocked if it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if it was a completely different 11. To be honest with you, but at the very least, I think 6 or 7 different starters. You've got to. What is the point? What is the point of? You're never going to. This is the only real opportunity that you're going to have to give minutes to players who maybe you want to look at or whatever in a. And I use the term loosely, in a competitive environment. Again, how competitive it's going to be is questionable. But I suppose there's a big difference between seeing somebody playing somebody in an actual game versus something in training. So it would make sense if you've got some question marks over somebody in your squad or some players in your squad. This would be the perfect opportunity to try something, wouldn't it? So, yeah, who knows? I think. I'll be honest. I think above all else, I think Wales could do with a decent result, really, because we're on the back of 3 poor results, really. Obviously, go out to Bosnia, that nothing game against Northern Ireland, we drew that, and then a drawn to Ghana. Obviously, I know it's not till September, but obviously the next game after this is then back in the Nations League. So
Portugal, yeah. Portugal away, I think, in fact. First game's Portugal away. So, yeah, absolutely. I mean, looking at Romania's record in the last, 11, they've won 4, but the 4 they've won is against Cyprus, Moldova, San Marino. The only decent team really is Austria. They've lost 5 and drawn 2. The last game they played, which was a friendly away at Georgia, they drew 1-1. So they're not the Hadji. Remember the team when they had Hadji and people like that.
Well, that's the thing. That team you were talking about that we lost to.
Oh yeah.
That Romania, the back in the day, they were a quality team.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And they've fallen off massively fallen off a cliff. So yeah, it's one of them. It's always difficult to predict what's going to happen in these games every week that we do it, but this is really difficult because I can't expect a huge amount of motivation from it, but either set of players. Surely to God, they're going to have one foot on the plane for their holidays.
Come on, give us a result then. What do you think?
What did you say Romania have done recently? Have a look.
This year so far, they've lost 2, drawn 1 of the 3 games they've played. And one of them was the playoff semi-final.
I'm going to go with a boring 1-1 draw.
I think Cymru are going to win 2-1.
Okay.
I'd like to. Well, I think the one thing we don't want is them to get beaten, because Romania, as I say, they drew 1-1 with Georgia. So, we don't want to be, because that'll absolutely knock the wind out of our sails. Because then we'll be going into the summer break, as you rightly say, having lost to Bosnia, drew to Northern Ireland, drew to Ghana, lost to Romania. We've got Portugal away as our first game. Not a good way to set ourselves up for the Nations League Group A. So, yeah, so let's get the win and at least go away for the summer on a positive. So there we are, over for another week. Next week we'll look back on those 3 internationals that we've played this week. We'll talk about who Wrexham Women may meet in their Champions League qualification campaign, and we'll look back at the whole of the 25-26 season for Wrexham and Cymru and try and predict what we think, the 3 of us think, might happen for the 26-27 season. Daz obviously hasn't been here, but he has left us a goodbye message. So thanks for not being here, Daz. Bye!
Right, that's me done. I've had my dirty burger. I won't want to advertise which particular brand it was, but Jamie knows it well. Here's me heading on back to the land of my fathers and back to the diff, and hopefully get some rest. It's been a busy couple of days. Although, firstly, I'm driving back to London again tomorrow for completely different reasons. Just trying to get some quality time with the other half, which should be nice. But it just feels like I've been on the M4 forever. But hey ho, these are all the things you got to do for work and love and all of that things. You've got to keep everybody happy. So I'm doing my bit. But sadly, the 2 that miss out from all of that effort is you two and everybody who's watching and listening. So I'm sorry about that. But anyway, here's hoping that you guys are okay and well, and hopefully I'll be back properly this time next week. All right. See you guys soon. All right. Take care.
Obviously, please let us know by the usual channels on social media. Comments on YouTube, comments on Spotify, or whichever platform you listen or watch us on, or by email, as we always welcome your comments and questions. Emailchipspodcast, all one word, @gmail.com. Of course, ever here, because he's got no better place to go, is my brother Jamie. So thank you, Jim.
Yeah, I'm just off now to go and set up my Cameo account.
Yeah, don't forget messages if you want a private message from Jamie. He will give you a private message. Obviously, it's extra money if you want it naked. So, on that bombshell, as we say each week, definitely this week, come on, Cymru! And come on the town.
eats more.
Clinton, 4-0. Thomas, after like a goal. That's number 5. Plays it through to Bellamy. Craig Bellamy. Craig Bellamy. It's 2-1 Wales. Craig Bellamy. Tony Hughes for Wrexham into the lead.
And that's it! Wrexham are champions! Wrexham are champions! Wrexham are the FA Trophy winners 2013! Alex Cross, great ball! Equaliser! Elliot Lee!
Back to back to back promotions. Oh, can you believe it?
The Eat More Chips Podcast.